Hey everybody, what's happening? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com, and we are live on the Syracuse Orange Basketball Facebook page, and we are coming off the heels of a pretty impressive win by Syracuse. It's been 8 days since we've seen the Orange in action, and that time off paid off for the Orange as they beat Boston College at the Carrier Dome 81-63. So we are here on Facebook Live talking to you about this win. We would love to hear from you about this win. Thanks to our friends at the Bill Wrap Superstore for coming along for the ride here as well. So please like and share this if you're watching with us live here tonight on Facebook Live, and make sure you hop in that comment section and tell us what you thought about what was, a very impressive win by Syracuse. Certainly one of their best overall efforts of the year, one of their best overall efforts of ACC play, and one of their best shooting nights of the year, period. Syracuse goes out tonight and shoots 60% for a team that has really struggled on the offensive end to shoot 60%, everybody in double figures tonight. Tyus Battle with 24 points. Frank Howard with 18 points. Pascal Chukwu. How about Pascal Chukwu tonight? Remember last game after Syracuse beat Pittsburgh, Jim Boeheim wanted him to get a little more assertive, a little more aggressive, flat out said he wants him to play meaner. Plays all 40 minutes in this game. He has 14 points and 7 rebounds, including a couple really impressive dunks. He was much better around the rim tonight, as we'll discuss here. O'Shea Brissett ends up with 13 points. He struggled a bit in the second half, but a very impressive first half for O'Shea Brissett, particularly from the three-point line. He was hitting and really more selective with his shots and hitting some good shots tonight. And Marek Dolezaj was the last guy to get across the finish line there, but 12 points for him. And every Syracuse player that logs serious minutes in this game, and this is not a very deep team, gets into double figures. So the bad news is there's not a lot of bad news. The dark side is going to be pretty light in the recap tomorrow. Hope you can read that on syracuse.com. But the bad news is Matthew Moyer suffered an ankle injury in this game. Just about 5 minutes into the game, he went to the bench. He was looked at. He went to the locker room. Brad Pike, the trainer for Syracuse, came back out of the locker room at first without Moyer. They evaluated him at halftime. They decided not to push it with Matthew Moyer. Jim Boeheim just walked away from the podium after his post-game press conference, and the update that he gave is it's a sprained ankle and that he could miss some time. Now, how much time and what the time frame is for that, we don't know yet. Moyer was back on the bench. He did limp away when they took him to the locker room for treatment, but he limped on his own. He didn't need help getting off the court. So, it was just a basketball injury. He and Pascal Chukwu went up for the rebound, and at first it looked like he may have stepped on Pascal, but he didn't, just hit the court awkwardly, and just one of those things you see in basketball. So that's a very interesting storyline in this game coming in, and it's one coming out now, because one thing about Syracuse was they were 349th in the country out of 351 teams in terms of not using their bench, right? This is not a very deep team to start with, so they just don't use their bench a lot. Well, Boston College was 350th in the country in that category. One team that actually, uses their bench less than Syracuse. This was going to be a very, mano-y-mano kind of game. Nobody's going to the bench too much, and Syracuse loses a player that started every game and, was starting to log some serious minutes. So this is not a deep team to start with. Barama Sidibe did not play tonight, and that's just because Pascal Chukwu was playing well. Howard Washington didn't play tonight, but Jim Boeheim did mention in his press conference that, if Matthew Moyer's out an extended period of time, and they don't know that yet, that they can play the three-guard lineup and, maybe use that a little bit more if Matthew Moyer can't play. So that's really the one big bummer from tonight. A couple other things you can note. Tyus Battle had 6 turnovers, and Syracuse did start slow. Boston College, a team that leads the ACC in three-point attempts. They shoot 23 three-pointers per game, started off really hot. But then what Syracuse did, knowing that Boston College has nothing on the interior, has nothing on the baseline, they moved the zone defense up and got aggressive, and they were literally flying at the ball and doubling the ball at Boston College. Could not handle it. So 81-63 is your final score. Taco time at the Dome tonight. That's something we have not heard a lot of this year. And it was a very impressive offensive performance from Syracuse. 60% from the field for a team that, we have kind of said all along, they're going to score in the 50s and 60s. They're going to plot along, and they're a team that's going to play good defense and rebound and grind some out. And you kind of were wondering how Syracuse was going to respond in this game after the layoff. You have 8 days off, which they needed. They needed to work on some things and kind of recalibrate and rest some injuries. And you get a bye week like that in the grind of ACC play and college basketball play. You got to take it. But, you could get rusty. That's the other side to that. And they were for the first few minutes of the game, but other than that, really rolled out and played well in this game tonight. I thought Syracuse had a great response defensively, as we mentioned. That's one thing that, people will say. We do the live chat on syracuse.com. People will say generally in social media, wherever it is, Boeheim never makes adjustments on defense. That's not true, because he does a lot. Jim Christian, the Boston College coach, talked about that a lot earlier this week. We wrote about it here on syracuse.com, but mentioned on the ACC coaches call just how effective Jim Boeheim is at doing that and adjusting his defense. And you may not notice it just kind of from a fan perspective, but we all saw it tonight. They moved the defense up, got in Boston College's face, and they've got 3 good shooters. Jerome Robinson's the leading scorer in the ACC. Kai Bowman was starting to hit some threes. And, they've got 3 guys that can really shoot it from three-point range. And, look, Boston College scored in this game. Boston College shot, let's see here, 47%. They were 21 of 44 overall. They were right at their average, 23 three-pointers, 11 of 23. Look, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good offensive performance. But when you have Syracuse come out and counter that by shooting 60%, something that we have not seen Syracuse do all year, you got to give them a hat tip. Jack says Coach Boeheim stopped slowing them down with over 5 minutes left in the game. That's something that Boeheim typically does, and always a point of frustration with the fans, as you saw there. They did let off the gas pedal a little bit late in the game, but, really few complaints here tonight. And Syracuse is in a stretch right now where, so they played Pittsburgh 8 days ago. They get this win tonight. Now you get Pittsburgh again. And Pittsburgh's awful, as we saw the first time around, but, you get a team you just saw, you play a team twice in league play. You know how these things can go. I'll tell you what, though, Pittsburgh, not only are they bad this year, they have no home court advantage. The Oakland Zoo, and we hear so much about how crazy the Pete can be in the Peterson Event Center. That has not been the case this year. Pitt fans are disenchanted. Pitt fans are down on their team. This is not, the same Jamie Dixon-led Pittsburgh teams that you were intimidated to see Syracuse go into that environment and play. So Syracuse just really has to take advantage of playing a bad team the second time around. And if they can get this win over Pittsburgh coming up, now you got 3 wins in a stretch where you really needed to pick some things back up. You get Georgia Tech after that, which I think is certainly a manageable game for the Orange, because February, that's when, the gauntlet starts. That's when you get Virginia at the Dome, and a team you faced already. And I think Syracuse can beat Virginia as good as they are. I know they're a top 3 team, but I think Syracuse showed in the first matchup that, they match up well with that team and they can beat that team. But you get Virginia, that's when, North Carolina and Duke and Louisville and all the tough matchups come in February. So you've got to get some wins in your back pocket here to make up for a slow start. Syracuse started slow in ACC play with the win tonight. They make up for it. They're 14-6 overall. They're 3-4 in ACC play. Now, if you could beat Pitt coming up, now you're 4-4 in league play, and you start to, win a few of those games that go either way. And, it was said on the broadcast tonight, Mike Cousins on ESPNU was working with, I think it was LaFonso Ellis, who was the color guy. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong here. But, he thinks 9 wins get you into the tournament out of the ACC, and he might be right. Now, you've got to pick up, we know how this works with the NCAA tournament. Joe Lunardi even made a comment today on Twitter that this was a game that was going to determine who would be in his bracketology tomorrow. So Syracuse will be in Lunardi's bracketology tomorrow, but who wants to be in bracketology on January 25th? You want to be there when it matters. But it's different how the selection committee is viewing things this year. They've got tiered wins. They're looking more at KenPom ratings. They're looking more at analytics. They're looking more at, the ESPN BPI and all sorts of measurements and metrics. But look, you get good wins on the road in the ACC if you take care of business in the games you're supposed to win. And Syracuse is going to have to pick up a win or two that impresses the committee. They're going to have to pick up some name brand wins here in league play. So there's still a lot of work to be done. But they showed tonight that, look, they're not going to have 5 players in double figures and shoot 60% going down the stretch here. But what I liked was how Syracuse took advantage of another team's weakness. They leaned on Boston College's inability to play on the baseline. I like Tyus. Tyus battled 6 turnovers tonight, so, that's something he's certainly got to cut back. But I liked his shot selection, his overall game. Frank Howard really showed off his offensive moves tonight. Had a couple of great, he would fake, let the defender go by, pull up for a nice jump shot. He was distributing the ball well tonight. Most important stat for Frank Howard, by the way, no turnovers in this game. I think only had 1 against Pittsburgh, so he's starting to make better decisions. O'Shea Brissett struggled in the second half, but I liked his shot selection tonight. His shot looked a lot more confident. I think that week off gave him an opportunity to take a breath, work on his three-point shooting. And, O'Shea, let's look at his shooting numbers for tonight overall, because when you look back at his stats, it was a lot of 3 of 15, 4 of 17, taking a lot of shots, but not making a lot of shots. What O'Shea usually does to make up for it, though, is he hits from the free throw line. Tonight he was 4 of 9. He played all 40 minutes, 2 of 3 from three-point range. Now he trailed off a bit in the second half, but I was a much bigger fan of his shot selection tonight, and I like that number. That's the second straight game, by the way, he's been under 10 shots, which is fine. You don't have to take 16, 17 shots. It's kind of quantity over quality. Take the quality shots that are there, and I think O'Shea Brissett did a much better job of that tonight. So, look, there's a lot that we got to give more props to Merrick Dolja. I knew there was something I took a note on here that we had to put out there. Merrick Dolja has struggled in ACC play. He has really struggled to adjust. He is, obviously, as you can see, he's not the biggest guy out there. He gets pushed around a little bit, but he had to play big minutes tonight with Matthew Moyer out, and he responded. He responded shooting the ball. Donna DeToda made a great point on Twitter, and this is something that they worked on with the extra time in practice. So what they're encouraging Merrick Dolja to do is when he gets the ball in the paint to at least kind of look at the basket, because he wasn't doing that. It was a little thing that they kind of drilled into his head. And now he's more confident shooting the ball. He's looking for a shot more, and teams have not been looking for Merrick Dolja to shoot the ball. So that could be something you can kind of catch teams off guard with here over the next couple of games before everybody watches film and picks up on these things. But he looks a little more polished on the offensive end, a little more confident on the offensive end, and they're encouraging to take that shot from the free throw line. So he was confident on the offensive end, hit the boards with 8 rebounds all over the place. And they're going to need him for the next couple of games with Matthew Moyer suffering that ankle injury. And you need good, solid, quality minutes. We know that Merrick Dolja hustles and gets after it, gets those floor burns going after the ball, but they need him to score a little bit. And he was good around the basket, and he was good, just overall tonight, smart out there. And, Boston College isn't the biggest team in the world. There's certainly teams coming down the road here where they'll be more physical, and he's going to struggle in those games in terms of matchups. But, big confidence booster for him tonight. We mentioned Pascal Chukwu played all 40 minutes in this game, which is just incredible to think about. He had much better ball control under the hoop. He didn't drop a lot of passes tonight. He was decisive. He was quick. Little thing, but he hasn't been doing it. Did it a lot more tonight, using the glass a couple of times. Pascal, unfortunately, I think is either approaching or may even be in double figures and missed dunks this year. But tonight, he went up with authority. He went up with confidence. And Jim Boeheim said it last week. He needed Pascal to be meaner, be a little more aggressive inside. And we saw that tonight. So a big hat tip to him and the game he's having. And, you get him to the free throw line. He's got it's been remarkable to see the improvement. And it's one of those things. Coaches say this all the time. And something that Jim Boeheim really circles back on all the time. We need to get better. We need to get better. We need to get better. And, coaches say that stuff all the time. but we're seeing that marked improvement. I brought it up with Merrick Dolzai. Frank Howard's shot is better. O'Shea Brissett, if he can continue the shot selection, and we're talking about Pascal here, there has been marked improvement in Pascal Chukwu's game, even in just the last month. So this is a team that is getting better. This is a team that is using their practice time well, and they're listening to their coaches, and they need these guys. The room for error is slim with this team because they're not very deep. We mentioned the stat. They're 349th in the country in bench play. So you need everybody to at least be efficient. This was an extreme example tonight because everybody was on. Everybody that played in this game made contributions on the offensive end, rebounded. Syracuse, let's check the points in the paint department here because Boston College just could not get inside. Remember the vacation movies? Clark Griswold couldn't get left. Look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament, right? Well, Boston College couldn't get inside. 30-14 points in the paint tonight. An edge for Syracuse. They had 17 points off turnovers. We mentioned the shooting numbers. Syracuse shot 60% tonight, which is just amazing to think about given how this team has struggled offensively. 29 of 48 overall. Syracuse, a nice clean 7 of 16 from three-point range. Like we mentioned, BC hit 11 three-pointers, right at their average of attempting 23, but most of those were early in the game and then kind of trickled in as the game went along. Syracuse really responded and played much better defense on Boston College. You see a team shoot 47%. You say, oh, boy, they didn't play good defense. Well, I mean, if you watch the game, you saw that Syracuse's defensive effort got a lot better after the first few minutes of that game. So, look, all told, this is a pretty impressive performance. It's one that Syracuse needed. They got a win in their back pocket that they absolutely had to have. They get this team again, I think not till February 28th or something like that. So it's about another month before you play this team. But you got to take care of business at home and get the confidence rolling again and, kind of make up for that slow start. Now, what did Jim Boeheim say when Syracuse started 1-4 in ACC play? What were those words? What was it? So what? When somebody brought up his ACC record, like what was it? Big deal or so what? Or, something of that nature. Like the signs they hold up when they do player introductions for the opposing team, right? So what? Big deal. That was Boeheim. He was Alfred E. Newman. Let me worry. Maybe this is why, because he saw a few games up ahead the road that Syracuse could bounce back here and even out their record at 4-4 if they can beat Pittsburgh on Saturday, who's obviously been a pretty awful team this year. So all told, Syracuse went out, took care of business tonight, and everybody contributed. Please check out the recap. The dark side, not going to be much in that other than Matthew Moyer's injury and a couple other picks to knit, if you will. So Syracuse gets the 81-63 win. Please check out all of our coverage on syracuse.com. Donna DeToda and Chris Carlson and Mike Waters and myself hard at work for you here. We'll have plenty of coverage tonight and tomorrow on this win. And, hey, we'll come back here on Saturday and do this again on Facebook Live, so I hope you can come hang with us after the game as we'll be doing this throughout ACC play. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Thanks for all your comments and sharing and liking and all that fun stuff here. But Syracuse gets a much-needed win, gets back after the break, and then one of the more impressive wins of the season tonight, an 81-63 win over Boston College. Thanks to our friends at the Bill Rapp Superstore as well. We'll talk to you again Saturday after the Orange take on Pittsburgh right here on Facebook Live. Have a great night, everybody.